Every time a person pulls up a vivid, cherished childhood memory, the brain chemically dissolves the physical tissue holding that exact event. A Tuesday morning in 1996, the smell of rain on hot asphalt, the scrape of a bicycle chain. Bringing those details to the surface physically dismantles the microscopic circuit where they were stored. Today we are going to trace how the nervous system performs this relentless act of self-vandalism. The sheer act of observing the past destroys its original form. People tend to think of human memory as a dusty archive. A quiet library in the skull where film reels sit on shelves, waiting to be played. They do not sit, and there are no shelves. A memory is a tangible, biological structure. It is a microscopic web of branching dendrites and synaptic bridges, built out of synthesized proteins. These connections look like a dense, tangled forest of tiny mushrooms under an electron microscope. When a new experience happens, neurons wire together in the dark. They lock into a specific, rigid architecture. You carry around trillions of these tiny, calcified monuments to your own past. But that architecture is surprisingly fragile. Recalling a story forces a sudden jolt of electricity back through that exact web. This current does not just illuminate the structure. It melts it. The moment an old image surfaces in the mind's eye, the synapses holding it unglue themselves. The proteins binding the circuit break down. The physical links unspool. Biologists call this reconsolidation. To look at a memory, the brain must pull it out of a solid state and turn it liquid. Suddenly, the most treasured story is vulnerable. It is floating loose in the cellular fluid, entirely detached from its moorings. For a brief, intensely precarious window of time, that memory is completely unlocked. The exact length of this chemical vulnerability is something researchers have measured down to the minute. It is a strangely precise countdown clock ticking in the background every time a past event is spoken aloud. If you want to keep exploring the eerie, hidden mechanics of the human body with us, take a second to subscribe and like the video. Because while that hidden countdown is ticking, something faintly absurd happens. The brain has to rebuild the memory from scratch. It cannot just put the liquid back in the vault. The vault is gone. The biological scaffold has been taken apart down to its molecular studs. The brain must synthesize brand new proteins to weld those synapses back together. But it does not recreate the original circuit. It builds a new one, heavily influenced by the present moment. If a person recalls a sad childhood departure while sitting in a warm, brightly lit room with a good friend, the new synaptic web incorporates that warmth. The current mood bleeds into the old framework. The ambient noise of the present gets glued into the architecture of the past. A drop of current joy dilutes the ancient sadness. This means the original memory is permanently gone. It has been overwritten by version 2. The next time the story is told, it will be version 2 that gets melted down, altered, and saved as version 3. A first kiss, the loss of a pet, a high school graduation. The events people talk about at every family gathering are the ones they have biologically destroyed and rebuilt the most. They are copies of copies of copies. The details drift. The colors change. A green shirt becomes blue. A cloudy sky becomes sunny. A memory that has not been touched in 20 years is far more structurally accurate than a story told every weekend. That process of rebuilding does not happen instantly. The countdown clock for the memory to resolidify is exactly 6 hours. For 6 hours after bringing up a past event, the synaptic connections remain pliable. They sit open, absorbing the chemical environment of the present day before finally locking into their new, distorted shape. Every single time a memory is touched, it spends a quarter of a day in this liquid, impressionable state. If a loud siren goes off outside the window while a person is remembering a peaceful hike, a tiny fragment of that sudden anxiety is permanently woven into the memory of the trees. If every recollection corrupts the source code, why do we trust our own history at all? Think about the single most defining moment of your life. How much of it is what happened, and how much is just the ghost of the last time you thought about it? The nervous system does not do this because it is broken. It does it to adapt. An organism needs to survive in the present, not live in a perfect museum of the past. If a dog gets bitten by a snake, the memory of the tall grass needs to be terrifying. But if the dog runs through tall grass 100 times without seeing a snake, the terror needs to fade. The memory of the grass must become safe. If the circuit remained locked as a permanent trauma, the animal would starve out of fear. To achieve this, the brain requires an editing function. Every time the grass is encountered, the old snake memory is summoned, chemically dissolved, and exposed to the current reality. No snake today. The synapses reform with slightly less fear. The melting is a necessary survival mechanism. The present must be allowed to rewrite the past, or else an organism would be paralyzed by outdated threats. But humans use this survival mechanism for storytelling. We drag up the past over coffee. We polish our favorite anecdotes to make our friends laugh. We force the emotional editing software to run on events that have no present-day survival value. Consider an old photograph found in a drawer. Looking at the glossy paper does not alter the chemicals in the photo. It remains fixed. Human recollection operates more like a digital document on a shared server. Whenever a user opens it to read, the edit button is automatically pressed. The text sits there, blinking with a cursor. The reader might lean on the keyboard. A word is deleted. A sentence is added. Then the brain autosaves. It performs this autosave through a cascade of neurotransmitters. Glutamate floods the synaptic cleft. Calcium ions rush in. They trigger enzymes that chew up the protein scaffold of the dendritic spine. The physical shape of the neuron changes. The spine might grow fatter, or shrink, or bend at a completely new angle. A microscopic sculpture is demolished and remade in the dark. This constant sculptural remodeling means that nostalgia is a highly destructive act. The stories a person leans on to define their identity are the ones that have suffered the most aggressive architectural shifts. The uncle's funny wedding toast. The exact shade of a first car. The bitter argument in the rain. These are no longer historical records. They are living, breathing fictions co-authored by every day that has passed since they occurred. Medical science is already exploiting this mechanical quirk. If a memory causes paralyzing pain, therapists will sometimes use this 6-hour window of liquid vulnerability. By asking a patient to recall a severe trauma, and then introducing a chemical beta blocker into the bloodstream, they can disrupt the protein synthesis. They intentionally sabotage the rebuilding phase. The memory cannot re-solidify correctly. The fear response is snipped away at the root. The patient remembers the bare facts of the event, but the visceral panic is deleted. The circuit is intentionally broken while it is unlocked. It is deeply unsettling to realize how fragile personal history really is. The very act of missing a moment from the past is what slowly erases its truth. We are carrying around a ghost ship of altered details, patching the hull with whatever wood we find today. The architecture of who we are is constantly tearing itself down to build something new. The past is not a place you can visit. It is simply a bridge of proteins, dissolving and reassembling in the silent dark, changing entirely every single time you look back. If this changed how you see your own body, subscribe. There is far more hidden inside you that we have not explored yet. A like and a comment genuinely help this channel reach more curious minds, and that support is what makes it possible to keep producing these documentaries. Tell us in the comments what we should explore next.